Hello, I'm Tanner the Planter, author of For the Love of Houseplants, a USA Today bestseller. And today I'm going to show you how to repot the Boston Fern. Now, this is a variegated Boston Fern, which is why the foliage looks a little bit lighter. And they have this nice striping on the fronds right here, which I think is absolutely beautiful. I just got this plant and I've let it settle into our home for a couple of weeks now. So this is a perfect time to repot. We're in early spring right now, which is fantastic time to repot your houseplants because then they're going to have the whole gamut of spring and summer with our long days of sunshine to recover from the shock of a transplant. Ferns usually come in relatively small pots. Now, this presents a unique challenge because when you have a really small pot with a fern who likes to stay damp all the time, the soil is going to dry out much faster in a smaller pot. So although it looks really, really nice, it's better, or at least it's advantageous, to increase the pot size just as early as you can. Some good signs are when you have roots that are coming out of the top right here or the bottom, or if it's just been a couple of years since your previous repot. With ferns, you may also notice a good time to repot them is when the water runs completely through just as soon as you start to water it. With ferns, because they like to retain a little bit of moisture, there should be some pooling up, there should be some soaking in. You shouldn't be pouring the water right on top of the soil and it immediately drains through like when you're doing a cactus or something like that. They want their soil to be rich and full of moisture all the time. So if you go to water your fern and it just drains right through immediately, might be a good time to repot your plant. Now, another good sign that you should be increasing the size of your pot for your fern is when you notice you have to water it a whole lot more often. For example, when you got it from the store originally, maybe you only had to water it every 7 to 10 days, for example. But now, if you don't water it every 2 or 3 days, it's automatically wilting. That's another good sign that you may need to repot your fern. And just look at this beautiful, gorgeous root system that we've got right here. This thing is just chock full of beautiful roots. Now that we've got it out of its nursery pot, we want to inspect the roots. Like I said, they are absolutely beautiful. You'll know if there's anything going wrong by a foul smell. Now, that's usually what's called root rot. And it comes from watering your fern too often because even though they love to have consistent moisture throughout their soil, you can overdo it, especially if you have your fern in too low of light. When you keep your plants in too low of light, they're going to process water more slowly because light is what helps a plant use water. That's how they drink it up. So if you have your fern in too low of light, it's not going to be able to process that water quickly enough. And if they don't process it quickly enough, then the water in the soil may stagnate. And just like when you get a stagnant body of water, like a pond or a mud puddle after a rain, it's going to start to harbor fungus. And that fungus is called root rot. And when you've got root rot, it's a really foul smell. If you can smell it and it's more just like earthy, you're perfectly fine. In fact, when you just take it out of the pot like this, you'll immediately be affected by the root rot if there is any. But these roots are perfectly healthy, so let's move on to the next step. There's a lot of debate whether or not you should rough up the roots of your fern when you repot or just any houseplant in general. I have found that it doesn't matter too much one way or the other, but there are some slight benefits, at least proposed benefits, of roughing up the roots just a little bit. Namely, roughing up the roots like this may help the plant stimulate more growth. And it may help the roots that are swirling around in the pot if you've got it root bound or something like that. It may help them find that new soil and grow into it faster than if they're just continuing to swirl without much of a downward direction. So by roughing them up just a little bit like this, we're going to be stimulating a little bit of growth. But if you do this in the fall or the winter months when it's not most advantageous, it's better to just leave the roots undisturbed. But again, you usually only repot during those colder months, those fall and the winter months with our shorter days, if it's an emergency. So right now this is going to be perfectly fine. And you can even rough up the sides if you want to just a little bit. But again, it's not going to make or break your success with your fern. Now with the root ball roughed up, it's time to determine a new pot. Now I'm going to be using terracotta, which can be quite controversial for ferns. The reason it's controversial is because ferns like to keep their soil damp at all times, and terracotta, being a porous clay material, naturally promotes airflow throughout the entire pot. There's little air pockets all around this clay material, and so oxygen is constantly being poured into the soil. And this can cause your fern to dry out a little bit faster. So keeping it in a plastic material or just any material that doesn't breathe, even like a sealed ceramic, can be advantageous because the plant is going to hold on to water longer. But we like to decorate with terracotta around here. Almost all of our houseplants are in terracotta. This is because we love the way it looks within our home, and it naturally combats the #1 reason people fail with their houseplants, which is root rot. So although my fern may dry out more quickly, I'm going to be combating root rot, and I can just water my plant more frequently. As long as I'm keeping the soil damp at all times, which may just require a little bit more frequent watering than if it's in a plastic pot or a sealed ceramic pot, I'm perfectly fine with that. In fact, I like to tend to my plants a little bit, and sometimes just having something to water a little bit more often is just kind of fun, because when you have, something like a monstera or a cactus, you can't tend to them all the time because they just don't need watered that often. So for me, it's terracotta, but I understand if you want to use something different. But whatever you use, I do recommend having a drainage hole. This is so the excess water can just spill through the drainage holes that it's not using. You can see I'm not increasing the pot size too much. Again, I could go a much larger pot than this. Generally, I recommend that you go up 1 to 2 inches in pot size diameter when you repot. But although I'm not going up much size in the diameter, I'm going up about 4 inches in the depth. So this is going to allow the roots to get down deeper, which is going to help the plant stay more damp. So even though the diameter isn't much larger like I would usually go, it's still going to be larger down here and provide plenty of moisture throughout the growing season. However, again, feel free to use something much larger than this. Even with the fern, even indoors, you can increase the pot size by 2, 3, maybe even 4 inches, provided the plant is set in bright light, which is 1,000 foot candles of light. If you're keeping your plant in lower amounts of light, because most ferns can survive a lower light scenario, I would recommend keeping the plant just in a little bit tighter pot, just 1 to 2 inches larger. Now, if you're planning on keeping your plant outside during the spring and summer months when it's really hot out, I definitely recommend increasing your pot size dramatically, because when you have a much larger pot size than the root ball diameter, say for example this is a 6-inch root ball diameter, you would want to go up to something like a 10-inch pot. Because the #1 reason people fail with their ferns during the spring and the summer months when it's really hot outside is they just dry out. In fact, if you keep your plant in too small of a pot, it may dry out from when you water it in the morning and the time you get back from work. So by keeping it in a larger pot, you're going to have much more soil around that root ball, and that soil is going to contain moisture. It's going to take longer for it to dry out just because there's more mass, there's more quantity of moisture retentive material in your soil, thereby keeping the soil wetter longer and avoiding burning during those hot summer days. Now, as far as the soil is going to go, we're also going to help it by doing a moisture retentive soil. So this is just a general purpose soil that we use right here, and I've mixed in some Bigfoot mycorrhizae. Now this is because soil, houseplant soil, doesn't actually have any soil in it at all. It's just a combination of moss, rocks, and wood in varying degrees of ratio. So I like to add in a little bit of mycorrhizae, maybe some worm castings, some things that are going to be giving that life, that bacteria, that fungus that is beneficial for plants. Now this is also a good time to divide your Boston fern if you want to, because this plant is actually made up of a lot of different plants. You can kind of see right down in here where they would divide. You can see like this is a whole different plant just by itself. So what you could do if you wanted to separate it is you can kind of work your fingers in there and start to rip it away. But what I like to do is take a knife and sort of cut it away, just like you would if you were cutting off a large piece of cake. This is going to retain a whole bunch of roots right around here, and you're going to have a new plant and you can establish one that way. But I'm keeping my fern nice and full because I love it, and maybe next year I'll take off a little baby or two and grow the collection that way. Enough chat, let's get this plant into its new pot. I'm gonna start by just adding a thin layer of soil down at the bottom. And here's a little trick. I want the fern, the topsoil of the fern, so this uppermost layer right here, I want this to be about right here on the pot, okay? This is because by allowing this gap right here, I'm going to be able to water it, and it's going to pool up about an inch of water right here and then slowly sink into the soil, okay? So I want to leave a little bit of room for that. If I fill the soil all the way to the very top right here, when I go to water my fern, it's just going to spill off the side, and we don't want that. We want it to really have that ability to sink in. So you can either guess and check your soil levels, because I've got a little bit down here. You can guess and check by putting the plant back in like that, or you can take your previous nursery pot and kind of set it down in there and see if it's about the level that you would want it to be at. That's a lot easier, especially if you have a super heavy plant, like if you're doing a large plant that's really heavy and you don't want to put it back in every single time. It's just easier to use the previous nursery pot as a template. So right now I have about 2.5 inches of extra soil. That's that extra depth that I was talking about earlier when we were talking about the pot size. And this actually looks like a great depth as we have right here. You can see it's just maybe slightly above this rim right here, which is going to be perfectly fine. Now with these roots that I have coming out right here, I'm actually going to start to tuck them back in. That way they can start collecting water and nutrients once they come in contact with that new soil. Sometimes it helps if you can ask somebody to hold its hair up like this while you repot. That way you can get the soil in and around all of the roots right here. Since I'm right-handed, I'm going to put the soil over on this side. Should have thought about that ahead of time. And now we're just going to backfill. And again, that mycorrhizae is all in and around this soil. So it's going to start coming into contact with these roots immediately, and those fungus are going to start growing everywhere. Now you can see how the soil is already, just from one little scoop like that, just already up here at the top level. So we need it to settle in and around the roots. We need it all the way down here. One of the best ways to do that is to slap that pot. There you go. You can also get your hand in there, start shoving it around. You can grab an old stick nearby if you're in the forest, and you can actually work it around that way as well, sort of gently guiding that soil in and around the root ball. There we go, not much to it. You can't really screw up this part, so don't be too nervous about it. All right, and now I'm just sort of gently firming it in with my fingers right here. I'm not pushing so hard that I'm breaking anything, just enough to sort of firm it in and hold the plant upright. Now we can twist it around and do the same on the other side. We want to guide that soil in and around those roots. There you go. You see how it just kind of shimmies on in down there? There we go. Now this project only takes a few minutes. I realize that it can be daunting, but once you get into it, it's really quite enjoyable. There we are with our new fern. And now the question becomes, what do you do after? Now, luckily, ferns are quite hardy and they usually don't kick up too much of a fuss after you repot them. They don't really go into a whole bunch of wilting shock, especially when they have such beautiful root systems as this one. But anytime that I repot a new plant, whether it's a fern or a monstera or a philodendron or a cactus or a succulent, a ficus, anything, I always like to water the plant in right after I repot. The reason is, again, because repotting a plant is quite shocking for it. You have to remember that plants were really made to just set seed, or their babies, grow in one part of the forest or wherever their seed lands, and they're there for their entire life. So when we uproot them, that's quite a foreign experience for them, and they can go into a little bit of shock. And one of the main ways that plants get out of shock is by creating sugar for themselves. That's what plants live on, is sugar, powered by the sun. They take the sun along with a couple of other ingredients, and they make sugar out of it, and that's how they can sort of recover and relax in their new environment. And one of the ingredients for them to make sugar is water. So I want to get that water in there, get that soil soaked up so it can start to recover from the shock of a transplant. I'm also going to recommend that you put your plant in bright light. Even if it's a plant that can survive low amounts of light, like a Boston Fern can survive lower amounts of light for periods of time, I still want you to put it in that bright light. Again, because that's how they're going to recover from the shock of a transplant. Now, bright light is considered 1,000-foot candles of light inside your home or outside. If you're going to have your plant outside, your Boston Fern especially, I recommend that the temperatures are above 50 degrees Fahrenheit and you keep the plant in full shade, or at the very least, avoiding afternoon direct sun from about 12 to 4 o'clock, which is the harshest period of sunlight in a typical afternoon. And for this plant, I'm going to water every time the topsoil dries out. Thank you for watching, and if you like this repotting guide, please subscribe to my channel. I do repots like this all the time for varying houseplants and give tips on how you can be successful with your houseplants. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. I'll keep ours outside in this full shade scenario just for a week or two until it settles in and recovers from the shock before finally putting it inside where we can really enjoy it.